Welcome to Swim Easy Speed. My name is Tim Floyd. This is going to be another special Pro Camp Edition video analysis, and today is with Rachel Mensch. And Rachel comes from a swim background, so yeah, we'll just go through her video, and I'll let you look at it, and then we'll start backing it up and talking about it. Okay, we'll start looking at it, and we'll rewind it in a little bit just to go over it. Okay, so if we're starting to break this down, the first thing that we see is she's got pretty good body position on the water. Her hips might be a little bit low, feet are a little bit lower, but the movement looks good. So you can see that you can tell that her core is engaged. Her hips and shoulders are rotating together, so they're not rotating they're rotating the same together. So that's all good. Her head's a little bit high, but again, with the endless pool, you've got the current kind of holding you in position. Some of that current's going to press on your back end. So if you don't have it as engaged or as connected back to the core, or the core isn't strong enough to kind of hold you up against that current, then yeah, everything's going to kind of drop down and you're going to get more of, that kind of angle on the water. So then when we go to the underwater, and you can see, part of this is the angle on the water right here. So you can see the elbow drop right there as she extends out. And it's just press, press, press. So, it's all just pressed down right here. And if we're thinking of ourselves as that, teeter-totter in the water, that press down at the front of the stroke is going to press the head and shoulders up, and the hips and feet are going to be more likely to go down. And there you can see, kind of that gap right there between the top of the butt and the water line. You're looking at conservatively probably 5 seconds, 100. If all of this is up a little bit higher on the water, because then all of this is no longer drag, and then it changes all of these angles out in front because you're higher on the water. So then it's easier to get into that position where you're more likely to be in a high elbow catch and then not pressing down on the water. But again, it all comes back to kind of that core engagement, and how everything is connected from a neuromuscular standpoint back to the core. Let's see how the left looks. So again, elbows a little drop there, press, 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 and then she pulls herself forward. She's got, look, there's a lot of engagement right there. You can see how she's using her whole body to pull through the water. This looks pretty good. Head position, so I wouldn't do anything about that. There's something that we worked on that she did kind of talk about afterwards that was a big game changer, and I'll go over that in the second video with her. Not this first one. So this first one, we had to kind of get past this. And, this is kind of where a lot of athletes are. So you can see right there, there's a lot of momentum going that way. You can see how the feet start to come apart to compensate, and how there's just a nice kind of that curve in her body right there. And remember, we're trying to get it where everything is just going straight forward. But she's got nice, even, balanced kind of rotation. And then we'll be able to see it a little bit better. She starts out kind of everything looks pretty good. And then as we start to go further into the stroke, you can see how this kind of starts to exaggerate. So if we figure midline is right about there, you can see how this is coming that way. And we're driving she's driving that momentum in that non-linear kind of manner, which we want to correct, because that's just all kind of inefficiency and stuff that we're going to have to correct for somewhere in the stroke. So you can see right here, she's probably a little bit too rotated right there. You figure if there's kind of the plane of the water, I wouldn't call it probably that extreme, but it's pretty close. I mean, it's probably 70 degrees above the water. Let's go back and look. So when she's breathing to the side, let's see if she breathes. No, it's going to be the other side. There we go. Okay, so here comes the breath on this side. All right, so this angle right there. Yeah, that's probably about right. So, and remember, we want it kind of closer to, even with the breath going on, we'd like it closer to about, maybe there with that recovery. So a little bit less movement through the shoulders. And that would probably help that entry too. Because you can see on the side when she's not breathing, or even on the left side. Let's see what it looks like right there. Yeah, I mean, she's really close to where she'd want that to be. I mean, basically that's it. But that's when she's not breathing. And what we've got to do is try to get that breath to not impact the rotation of her body as much, where those things should be kind of operating independent of one another. And then you can see, kind of here, and usually anytime there's that crossover in the stroke, it's always going to be a correction somewhere in the stroke. So, feet come apart, you rotate, over-rotate. Here's one of them. So typically we want that to be 100 to 110 degrees. So, she's pulling pretty far outside of her body and then putting all of the pressure of the stroke right there on the top of her shoulder. And that's where usually we'll get a little bit of, kind of that angry bicep tendonitis right in through there. So it'll typically go, up and like that. Maybe not that low, but so kind of like to there, to there. That's usually kind of where the pain is from that bicep tendonitis. And then you can see kind of when she breathes to the right, you can see how much that arm, swoops underneath her body. Let's see what that angle is. Yeah, she's pretty good there. I mean, usually about 100 to 110. The big issue is that, you figure midline is kind of like that. It's tough to tell just because, this is so rotated. So it'd be more kind of there. She's just a good swimmer, so she has a lot of proprioception of where all this stuff needs to be in relation to the midline. But yeah, I mean, probably just not as much rotation through the stroke, or if there is rotation, that we're driving it more straightforward instead of side to side. So the first thing we did was, where we usually start with all this stuff when it's crossing over a little bit, we did that PVC pipe drill, the position 11 drill, and we went through a couple of rounds of this. You can see her feet were already doing a lot better, and everything was kind of going straight. Then we did kind of the kick with the brick. So it really constrains it where you have to engage that core. And you can see, with her, how everything is really just lined up super, super straight. There isn't a lot of movement. That's what we want. That's what we're looking to achieve with all this. So then we get the application, and what I want you to see is, if you think back to how her hips and her feet were in the previous videos when we first started, here it is now. So you can see how much higher in the water she is and how much more kind of, it doesn't look like it's as effortful to make the movement. And that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to set it up like that. So she actually did a really great job of working on, in practice, that fixing that crossover. So when we got into the next session, we were able to kind of work on some even more fine-tuned stuff, which really made a big difference in her stroke by the end of the practice. So make sure to catch up or stay tuned for the second part or the second session where I do the video analysis with her, and you'll get to see what we did. So as always, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. I'm always happy to answer questions, and hope to catch you back in the pool soon.